Markets Now is brought to you by Durastack Trait Technology, the latest innovation from Syngenta. Available for the 2027 season, Durastack Technology features 3 powerful modes of action to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outmatch corn rootworms every move.
And welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with John Scheve of Scheve Grain. I'm on the road today at Soy 100 here in Brookings, South Dakota. Well, we are seeing a lot of red on the board here today in grain and livestock futures trade, with the exception of the wheat market. So, John, that's where I want to start off. We've had kind of a chart breakout. Is this all technical? Is it all short covering, or is there something fundamental that's pushing it?
It's probably a little bit of both. You have you have some concerns on weather in Ukraine. You have some concerns in the South that this crop might be coming out of dormancy a little bit too soon. But hey, wheat has 9 lives. The nice thing is it's rallied 50 cents a bushel off of its lows, or slightly more than that. And I think that that's a really good thing, because I think that that can drive corn prices eventually higher, because it less chance then that you put wheat in for feed, and maybe then we feed a little bit more corn.
All right, that was my next question, was what does it mean for especially the corn market here? How much more of a rally do we need to see for corn to start kind of following wheat, or seeing a little bit of a bid as a result?
Probably going to take some more, probably at least another 25 cents on the wheat. I think corn's just, it's so hampered by how many bushels are out there. I think that it keeps it sub that 450 level for certain. In here in about a week or so, we start rolling over and we focus just on the May contract, which is going to pop us up about 10 cents from what we're focusing on the March. So I still think May is going to have trouble exceeding that 450 level. You might even need wheat to almost start pushing towards 6 for that to happen.
Well, some of the old-time traders always say that if you're going to have a rally in the grains, wheat has to kind of be the leader. So that's why I asked that question.
And it makes absolute sense. I mean, wheat is grown around the world. It's used in so many different diets, both human and animals. So, yeah, wheat has to be the first one to rally, and then everything else can be pulled higher from there.
Yeah, we could also make the argument, though, funds have been very short in that market and for a long time. And so, as to your point, perhaps just some technical action. All right, let's talk about the corn market. As I said, despite the fact that you have wheat up this morning, you have crude oil screaming up to 5-month highs, and you did get some lower acres in the USDA Ag Outlook Forum this morning. Corn just cannot rally. What's going on?
Too much of it. They dropped the feed and residual number in that economic forum number from 6.2 in the current year to 6 next year. Likely the animals on feed are going to be the same next year. It's pretty hard to raise that cattle inventory significantly. So where's 200 million going from this year to next? I mean, that's residual that's going to carry over into the carryout. So really, yeah, they posted a 1.8 with a 183 yield, but you still have probably 200 million that's going to be ran over into next year. You're looking at 2 billion year over year, assuming that the acres don't change, assuming that we have normal weather, assuming that there isn't some kind of global event that changes everything.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me, though, was that they used a 183 BPA yield for corn compared to 186.5 last year. So they certainly could have, that number could have been bigger, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It could have. If we look at the 50-year trend line, just straight run number should have been probably closer to 184. And so the USDA has been slowing it down from what the 50-year average is. Every year people complain about wherever that number comes in at, but they do a pretty good job of just kind of going with what trend line would suggest that you go with, and using statistical analysis there. Usually we'll see a yield that has only been beaten once or twice. There's been a couple times where we've seen a yield that maybe has seen a couple times, but that was only from 2015 to 2018 that we saw that, where it kept running above the average for a number of years. But in general, we've only seen it been beat once or twice. So this 183 seems both attainable and a reasonable number. And if anything, it might be slightly favorable to the producer instead of maybe putting out a 184 number.
Yeah. Let's go back to acres for just a moment, down 4.8 million acres from this year, so 94 million acres. Do you really think, you run balance sheets, is that what producers are going to do this year with what the corn to soybean ratio is and whatnot?
Right now, you lose less money planting soybeans than you do planting corn for the average farmer across the average acreage in the country. That isn't to say that there aren't pockets where your yield just does not favor raising one crop over the other. But in general, it does favor beans up here closer to this 1120 number than it does 460 corn. Neither one of those is profitable, but one loses a little bit less than the other. And right now, with fertilizer prices where they are, you need $5 futures to break even on corn. So, people getting anxious about selling 460, 470, 480 corn. I don't understand doing that before you plant the crop. Fertilizer's never been cheap enough this year. It's still higher than where it was last year, and our break even last year was 475. Bean break even, if you change your yield by 1 bushel on your break evens or on your balance sheets, that will change your break even by 20 cents a bushel. So if you think your yield's 50 bushels or 51, that's a difference of 20 cents. If you're too conservative on what you think you're going to grow for yield, even by 2 bushels, now you're 40 cents off on your break even. So some farmers will say, well, my break even's $12. Others are going to tell me it's 10.80. They both may be right, pending what they used for yield, but they should probably be really grinding that yield in to figure out where they're really going to come in, and that may change their perspective on which crop they want to plant.
Okay. So we're going to need basically some sort of a production shock, a weather problem, or more than 5 million acres lost in corn before we can do anything that's really price responsive then for getting a rally to go.
Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption.
We are also on Friday going into option expiration. The following Friday is first notice day. Last year, we had this massive selling by the farmer going into that time period, either rolling because of basis fixed contracts or not. Do you think that's going to happen again this year, or have we managed into that situation better?
This year is substantially different situation than last year. Last year, we came out of that January report and corn was screaming from 450 to 520. We don't have that situation this year. This year, we went in the opposite direction. So, no, I don't think that what happened last time is the conditions aren't the same. So I don't know why we would expect anything to be similar. This year is its own year, and it's going to be traded completely differently.
Gotcha. All right, soybean market made new highs for the move yesterday and then kind of backed off here. Market is waiting for confirmation of some of this additional old crop business to China. Is that the main thing we're waiting for?
It's all that and trying to find out how many beans we're going to grind for bio, RS, or RVO, 45Z, whichever one we're looking at. It's all about how many bushels are we going to grind here, because we need to move beans from being an exportable risk in the market to let's grind everything here so that we don't have to worry about exports and we can just focus on grinding it here, and then it's just about what we produce.
Yeah, we are not going to get much confirmation or any confirmation of China business for a while since they're on holiday, but this extra 8 million metric tons are just what we're talking about in general. Is there a fear at all that maybe the president won't meet with President Xi in April in China because of what's happened with the arms deal with Taiwan? Is that a fear we need to have or not?
I think it's an absolute fear we should have, because we didn't even know that this conversation was going to happen. It happened because of a social post that he placed. It caught the market off guard, and up we went 40, 50 cents almost within 2, 3 days. So we're going to have exciting days up. We're going to have disappointing days down. So you have to be ready for anything, because if it's going to go into geopolitics between literally just two people on the face of the planet controlling where beans go, I think every day is a risk in both directions. That isn't to be bullish or bearish. It could be in either direction, and we could still go to $12 and we could still go to $10 on old crop beans.
Yeah. You mentioned the RVO news that we're waiting for the proposal, maybe going to the White House from EPA this week, and the RVOs could be raised up to 5.2 to 5.6 billion gallons for biomass-based diesel. We're up at contract highs already in soybean oil. Do we have most of that priced in, John, or not?
That's a great question, and that would be uh, the best thing in the world to know. Obviously, these plants are going to want to keep crushing, and they're believing that it's going to happen and that this oil is worth something. But do you buy the rumor and sell the fact? That'll be the end all be all question. But it probably isn't going to drop a ton, which is going to be supportive for beans in the longer term.
Yeah. Let's go back to USDA Ag Outlook Forum on soybeans. They raised acreage 4 million acres. Was that a surprise to you at all?
No, because the economics face that, but I think that they're still going back and looking at what do we normally do. I don't think that they're trying to anticipate anything. They're looking at things from a much longer standpoint. Um, I don't think we're going to know what is planted or have any real idea. The March 31st report will be almost worthless because that'll be surveys and that stuff. Those surveys are almost going out right now. And what will the economics look like in a month from now? Does President Trump and President Xi meet? What's the situation in Iran? What's the situation in Taiwan? There's too many questions to be asked that could change how people plant. What's the price of fertilizer between now and April? We're waiting until June 30th to find out how many acres were planted, and we could be looking at a massive miss by both the trade estimates and the market in general. That there's so much time and so many unanswered questions, and neither crop is profitable at these values. I don't think we have any idea how many acres are going to be planted, and we'll have to wait for that June 30th report.
Okay, very interesting you mentioned that. So right now you feel like farmers are still going to be making decisions here. And what's the biggest thing that they're going to be watching? Is it going to be the crop insurance price or just price in general to make that determination?
Fertilizer. Fertilizer's
Fertilizer? Okay,
fertilizer is the key because and it doesn't matter what futures on fertilizers do, it all matters on what their cash price is and how much that is, because cash price for fertilizer at the local retailer doesn't change near as much as what you'll see sometimes the futures market doing on fertilizer. So I think it's more, what does fertilizer prices do? Where do November beans, where does December corn go? And right now, if you keep November beans above $11 and you keep December corn sub 475, you're not seeing a switch. You're not going to add corn acres in. So we need to definitely see which way this goes. I think people are going to be keeping a real eye on fertilizer. I think there's a lot of people that hadn't bought fertilizer that normally do in the fall. I'm talking to truckers across the country who say that the movement is on fire right now. People are filling up sheds across the northern plains that normally gets filled in the fall or early winter. They're filling them now, which means no one bought fertilizer back then. They're buying it now. Before the snow that came across the Dakotas and Minnesota here last week, you had people applying fertilizer at a time they normally don't apply because the weather conditions were in good shape. So
yeah.
you were seeing some corn. Obviously, it's going to still prepare for corn, but again, we're looking at if 10% of farmers make a 10% change, that's a 1 million bushel change. It doesn't take very many farmers to make just a little bit of a switch to massively change a million acres here or there.
Interesting. Well, then you better hope that we get something figured out with Iran, because if we don't and you have crude oil going higher or you have something over there, it could impact the fertilizer price, I would think, going higher.
It certainly can, but I think that that's more of a function almost for next year now.
Okay.
The fertilizer that we have is going to be for current needs. You've had natural gas prices down reasonably. I mean, there's been some pops here and there, but in general, I don't know that fertilizer can change for this year. And so that's why I'm like, unless there's a big surprise and there's some reason that fertilizer, all these places were plumb full expecting the farmer to buy it, they don't buy it. Well, then that means that there's probably some more beans going in. And it's like when I try to talk to seed dealers and ask them if they can see a change over the last 15 years that I've polled, and I have a lot of seed dealers that I work with, they can't see massive change one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, a few bags here and there just doesn't change it.
All right. Interesting perspective. Thanks so much this morning, John Scheve with Scheve Grain. That is Markets Now.
With corn rootworm costing farmers up to $1 billion a year, you need the right strategy. Introducing Durastack trait technology, featuring 3 powerful modes of action to strike corn rootworm at full force, outsmart, outmaneuver, and outmatch their every move with the industry's first triple BT protein stack built for corn rootworm control. Take back your yield potential. Make your move at Durastack.com. Available for the 2027 season.